Some people think these are just pretty little ornaments, but this pretty ornament was made in Germany. This one was made in Japan, and they both travelled halfway around the world to Australia to sit on someone's dressing table. Today we're looking at half dolls, what they are, why collect them, and how to tell old ones from new reproductions. This is Vintage Chats. So what is a half doll? They're half a doll. And can you see the tiny holes at the base? They were designed to be stitched into things. So pin cushions, this one here is a little container to stuff your hankies in. This one here is a jug cover to keep the bugs out of your juice or your milk. And this one is a brush. You could get the crumbs off the table or maybe the hairs off your dressing table. But they also hid tape measures and even corkscrews. Not for your wine, but back in the day, in the 20s and 30s, when these dolls were very popular, women bought perfume in quite large bottles with a cork, and the corkscrew would open that and you would decant it into your beautiful little crystal. Vintage half dolls have different levels of craftsmanship and different levels of expense, I suppose. The basic half dolls, like this one here, have their arms against the body. This one's got a lovely hairstyle, hasn't it? This is another example of that. The step up from that is this little lady who's got one arm out with a gap. And then there are the other ones, like these. An easy way to tell if your half doll is actually an old one from the 20s or 30s or a newer reproduction from the 70s or 80s is to look at the painting. You can see on this little one, this is a Japanese one, the eyes aren't quite right. In some of the reproduction ones, the eyes and the facial features have been put on by machine or transfer, and some of the eyes are quite detailed. It's a bit of a giveaway. Another form of the half doll are these legs. Often they would be sewn into the one piece. So you might have your lady body at the top and then her legs might be sewed in to the bottom down here a bit, or under there maybe, giving that risque look. Favorite dolls that Inga showed us this week I had never seen before, and they hide something special: tape measures. As I mentioned, these half dolls were very popular and made in Germany in the 20s and 30s. And then, of course, the war came. So the factories were shut and used for more productive things, I suppose. Inga herself, who told us about her collection of over 50 years and 92 dolls, went to Germany just after the wall came down and was able to visit some of these old factories where piles of dolls were still laying on the floor and in the sheds and walkways, which is a bit of a sad story. So then, of course, after World War II, Japan was not allowed to make anything slightly risky, like machinery, except for sewing machines, and they got into production of ceramics. So a lot of the Japanese dolls we see, like some of these ones, will have made in Japan or Japan written on them. And so even though they might be 30s and 40s, but generally they are probably just after the war. And so they were made for export. So you won't actually find many of these dolls in Germany. Inga said when she travelled to Germany to visit family a few years ago, she didn't find many at all. They were mainly sent to America, to Australia, and to England. In our Sunday chat, we also touched on frozen Charlotte dolls or penny dolls like this, solid porcelain dolls. In Germany, they're known as, I think, Badepuppen or bathing dolls, because sometimes they would be glazed on either the bottom or the top, and so they would float in the bath. And they were a bath doll for children to play with before the plastic dolls were invented. Some of them had little holes where the arms would go, but in America, this doll was given the name Frozen Charlotte because she sort of does look like she's frozen to death. It came about by a story that was published in America about a little girl called Charlotte who refused to wear her coat out in the sleigh. So she froze. I have actually done a whole blog post about Frozen Charlotte, so I'll put that in the links down below for you to read if you're interested in that. It's just a bit of really great marketing from America, as usual. So these half dolls aren't just pretty, and they're not just useful when they're made into items like this. They carry women's domestic history and a history of global trade, industrialization, and generational memory. We mentioned in our chat on Sunday, that collecting seems to skip a generation. So if you grew up with a parent who collected, you might not collect. If you grew up with a minimalist parent, you might be the opposite. I have a sign at the shop that says, Grandma loved it, Mum threw it out, and I'm buying it again. If you like this post, please check out my blog. It's all written down so you don't have to hear me ramble. And don't forget to hit the subscribe. I'm putting out new videos at least weekly. Thanks for joining me. Cheers. Some of my favourite dolls that Inga showed us this. Oh, fuck.